Good morning and welcome to our community affairs program that we call 30 Minutes. Today we go back into the archives to bring you Dr. Ming Wang. The world-renowned eye surgeon spoke at the Union City Rotary Club and is now the subject of a new motion picture. Dr. Wang talked of his early life in China to his move to America and graduation from Harvard. We hope you enjoy today's program.
It's a pleasure to be with my fellow Rotarian Club members. I've been a Rotary Club member for probably nearly 30 years. Initially joined as part of Rotary Hong Kong, and then throughout different parts of the world as I was traveling, and finally settled in Nashville. So today, what I'd like to share with you all today is two things. One is we're living in the greatest country on this planet. But sometimes with the problems we're having in the society today, such as recent events, and people are complaining, oh, this is not good, that's not good about America, I want to say that sometimes we forget how blessed we are. That we're living in the best country on this planet with freedom, but we forget to appreciate that. And, some of our kids say, oh, I deserve this, I should have that. But why they are taking things for granted? I think it's because, every day I take care of patients with vision problems. I've done about 55,000 procedures, including on over 4,000 doctors. Who appreciate, among the patients I taking care of every day with vision problems? Do you know who appreciates sight the most? Those who used to not have freedom or not have sight. Who appreciate freedom the most? Those who used to not have freedom. So today I want to share with you my story of once not having freedom. And hopefully, by comparing our lives today in America with folks who used to not have freedom or still don't have freedom, hopefully we will appreciate our country so much more. Second thing I want to talk about is science and technology is so fast developing, but sometimes it does cause conflict with our moral, ethical, faith principles. We want to know, for example, there are many aging eye conditions, diabetes, glaucoma, macular degeneration, various different aging eye conditions. They are difficult to treat because in order to treat an aging eye condition, you have to perform research on young tissue. But that's where the problem is. Do you think we should use young tissue to do the research? Fetal tissue, stem cells. On one hand, we say, oh, we don't want to hurt the baby or fetus. Doesn't mean just stop researching. Knowing that the quality of our lives in the 21st century is improved through medical research. So what do you do when science keep on developing clashes with our moral, ethical, faith principles? Is there a common ground between science and faith? Most of my friends who know me know that I've been known as the common ground guy for many years because my life's inspiration is to bring people together, whether it's across the country, different ethnicities, different culture, races. Because bring people together is the only way to move the society forward. But polarization will stagnate the society. So in this case, is there a common ground between faith and science? So these are two things I'd like to share with you. So first, it's about appreciating America. So let me tell you a little bit about my story from darkness to sight. Great War of China. China is about the size of the United States. I grew up in a city near Shanghai, China. Mom, younger brother, dad. We were a very poor family. In those days in China, everybody was very poor. To give you a sense how poor we were, the combined salaries of my parents, every month was only $15. So mom and dad always said, study hard, Ming. Education was the only way to get out of poverty. But it was in a family that focused on education, where education was everything. When in 1966, disaster occurred. 1966, the communist dictator decided the best way to keep on dictating is to keep people ignorant. The best way to keep people ignorant is to actually, believe it or not, shut down all universities and colleges of an entire country. Not just for a day or two, for 10 years. And forcefully deported every single high school graduate to the poorest part of the country and condemned each one of us a lifetime of poverty and hard labor. Over 10 years of Cultural Revolution, or really Cultural Holocaust, they destroyed the future of 20 million young people by having shut down university colleges for 10 years and sent away to labor camp 20 million high school graduates. 1974, I was 14 years old. I finished my 9th grade. I was a straight A student because mom and dad always said, study hard, study hard. So I never had a B, but that made no difference. When I finished my 9th grade, looking forward to attending 10th grade and beyond, when the deportation order came down to me from the government. I got kicked out of school and I was never allowed to go back. And I was going to be sent away to labor camp. Not just me, 20 million others, for life, for life. Then I found out there's one way to escape the labor camp. If I could play a music instrument, or if I could dance, I might be able to get into what they called communist song and dance propaganda troupe. If I could do that, you might be able to avoid being sent away to labor camp, being allowed to stay in the cities, because communist governments still need musicians and dancers in the cities. So I started playing this music instrument, a Chinese violin, and started learning dancing every day, trying to get into the communist song and dance propaganda troupe. Then something happened. The communist government discovered I was playing a music instrument, learning dancing with an ulterior motive. Really not for music or dancing per se, but to avoid labor camp. So they stopped my music and dancing practice. To give us a perspective, here these days here in America, sometimes friends come and talk to me and say, oh, Ming, so nice. You have a hobby, you can play an instrument, you can dance. Nice to have these hobbies. You know what I say? I didn't learn as hobbies. I learned it to survive. So I try everything, dancing, music, everything that will be able to get me able to avoid being sent away to labor camp. All failed. My fate was labor camp for life, together with 20 million others. When I was about to be actually sent away, I got lucky. 1976, the dictator died. The communist dictator died. So all of a sudden, China woke up, realizing what a tragic mistake it has made by having the Cultural Revolution for 10 years, having shut down universities and colleges for 10 years, having sent away 20 million high school graduates to labor camp. So they stopped the Cultural Revolution, they reopened all the colleges. And I remember mom and dad came home one day. They said, Ming, come over here. Son, you might be able to go back to school. I thought I would never be able to hear that in my lifetime. I said, when? Mom said, maybe tomorrow. I said, wow, should I go back to 9th grade? Because 3 years ago I was 14. I got kicked out of school after 9th grade, despite being a straight student. In the last 3 years, I've not been studying. I've been out of school. I've been playing music, learning dancing, all to avoid labor camp. So I never studied 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th grade material. So should I go back to 9th? Guess what my dad said? He said, no, higher. I said, 10th? He said, no, higher. I said, 11th? He said, no, higher. I said, 12th? You want me to go back to school tomorrow, but you want me to jump 3 years ahead overnight into 12th grades? He said, yes. I said, you're crazy. Mom said, we're not crazy. She said, how long did the communist government shut down colleges? I said, 10 years, from 1966 to 1976. She said, okay, we're in 1976, all right. They did reopen all the colleges, all right, but, son, is a guarantee. They will not shut down college again next year for another 10 years. I said, Mom, you're right, it's dictatorship. They can do whatever they want. There's no freedom, no freedom. So Mom said, you got it. Either you try to go to college right now, this year, 1976, by jumping 3 years ahead overnight, or you may never be able to go to college. So I knew I had to do it, but how could I do that? I got so stressed out. But Mom and Dad said, we're going to help you. So during daytime, they were working very hard. At night, they borrowed many old exams. But we were so poor that we didn't have money to Xerox or anything like that, because the combined salaries of my parents every month, as I mentioned, was only $15. So what Mom and Dad did, they found little pieces of papers throughout the house, using pencils, hand copy those questions onto little pieces of papers. And every night, drill me with these little pieces of papers containing those questions. They made me study 19, 20, 21 hours a day. I almost killed myself studying. But I was driven by this little glimpse of chance of hope, so I was doing everything that I could. This book talked about when I eventually made to the examination building on the day of exam, I almost collapsed. I did barely get into college, but I did not want to have anything to do with the communist dictators anymore. I've suffered enough. So, 1982, with $50 borrowed from a visiting American professor, with a student visa, I was dropped at National Airport, Washington, D.C. With that $50, with a Chinese English dictionary, knowing no one in this country, could hardly speak English, but with a big American dream. I had the good fortune of attending some of the wonderful schools in this country since then, but my work in the last 30 years serving my patients have been based upon the appreciation of freedom, appreciation of America. You know, the instrument I used to play during Cultural Revolution, the Chinese violin, to escape labor camp, has truly become a hobby. Even dancing has become a hobby as well. I learned dancing to escape labor camp. Now it's become a hobby as well. We have a foundation. With all the doctors, we donate our services to help blind orphan children. And once a year, the foundation have an event, a ball, a gala, to raise money to help people see. How would you call that ball? Eyeball. Eyeball is a spectacularly beautiful event. It's like thrown back into 17th century Vienna. But the point is that when you see all that beautiful dancing, that remind us how precious our sight is. Because without sight, we as human beings cannot see all the beautiful things in life. That's a brief synopsis of my biography, From Darkness to Sight. You know, something happened to me in recent years. As I grew older, I became increasingly more appreciative of my parents, of what they have done in my most difficult time as a teenager. So several years ago, as they were getting in their late 70s, I moved both of them in to live with me for the rest of their lives. They took care of me as a teenager in my most difficult time. I want to take care of them in their sunset years. The book, the biography, is, as we speak, is being made into a major motion picture right now. It's called Sight, and the movie will come out next year. So as I said earlier, I wanted to talk about two things today. One is appreciating America. One is about faith and science, common ground. You know, there are lots of turmoil right now in our nation, with racial tension, with all the problem we have, economy, jobs, and lots of people are complaining about America. Oh, America is not good. It's not that. It's good. Not good that way. It's no good. But I just want to shout out, don't you know how good we got here? That this is the best nation on this planet. Let's appreciate more. And they say, Dr. Wang, give me a proof. America is the greatest country on this planet. Give me a proof. You know, in America, we have the immigration problem, right? Everybody wants to come to live here. Let me ask you, do we have an immigration problem that starts with E, that everybody wants to leave? We don't. Why everybody wants to come to live here, including myself? Because from around the world. Because America provides something we, each of us, as human beings need. Peace, security, fairness, freedom, justice. But you can't just enjoy America, what America has to offer to you. We all have the responsibility to keep it strong. Keeping America strong is not an empty statement. It has to be backed by substance. And what is that substance behind keeping America strong? Is how motivated our future generations of Americans are. Because we're living in an increasingly hostile and competitive world. Hostile because our idea of freedom is being threatened in so much parts of the world. Yes, we may have freedom today in America, but there's no guarantee it will be there still tomorrow, unless we truly appreciate and stand up, protect the freedom. We should complain less, we should work more. We should criticize less, we should appreciate more America. But how can we motivate ourselves and especially our kids? At the time, when all of the kids in America were born with freedom, the freedom to get an education. So many of them have taken for granted because they always had it. That's a tough question that we're facing as a nation. But maybe, just maybe, I've been thinking that if we encourage little Johnny or Nancy to read the real life story, what I just told you today is not a fiction. It's what I've gone through. To feel the pain and suffering of another youngster who at Johnny's age, at age 14, despite being a straight A student, got kicked out of school after 9th grade, had to play music, learning dancing, or to avoid being sent away to labor camp. Fought against that, came to this country with only $50, who still make it. Johnny should be to make it. Don't be lazy. Get up in the morning, go to school, study hard, pull up your grades. Johnny should realize that he has the freedom to go to school, to get an education in America. A freedom that was not available to me in Communist China during Cultural Revolution. A freedom that's still not available in so much parts of the world, even today. So that's the motivation behind my book and the movie. Inspire all of us to truly appreciate more what God's blessing for us here in America, the freedom, and motivate our kids to work harder to defend that freedom. So basically, I'm like someone used to be blind to share with you all sighted folks how precious sight is. I'm indeed someone who used to not have freedom to come to share with all the folks who always have freedom here in America how precious freedom is. By the way, before the pandemic, every fall and spring in school commencements in colleges and universities and high schools, I always give lots of commencement speech about this. So if you think you know a school principal or university president who might be interested in commencement speech as such, to encourage kids to work harder, come to talk to us. I will send a book to give to the school principal as a gift. You have to spend $10, but the school principal gets it free. And then I would be delighted to come. And there's no cost for the presentation because I think it's God's calling for me to be the ambassador to relay to American kids how precious the freedom is by my own experience of once having not. So, second topic, faith in science. So these are the procedures we do. We pretty much can take care of patients all the way from 18. The oldest patient I've done is 107. So you're all babies compared with 107-year-old. So basically we have a procedure to everyone. In particular, in the middle, for every young lens, we have a technology now to get rid of your not only distance glasses, but also reading glasses. So, Dr. Hale, you might want to look into that. I know your arm's getting a little shorter now. And so either I can have your arms lengthened, or we can use better procedure. Short arm syndrome, we call these reading groups. So cell phone eye syndrome, it's important to know cell phone can damage your eyes, abuse it. So what should I do to prevent premature aging is once a year, complete eye physical to make sure eyes thoroughly checked. Any early sign of aging taken care of. We can actually take care of floaters now. With laser floater removal, we're the first to perform that procedure. So, do science and faith have common ground? It's a particularly relevant question because lots of students are studying science and technology, and they see there's a problem. So, for example, to treat aging medical conditions such as diabetes, glaucoma, macular degeneration, many of the things in the eye, or general medical aging conditions such as Alzheimer's disease, dementia, the way to do research is use young tissue. On one hand, you say, that's use young tissue. How can you justify hurting a baby for the benefit of adult? If you say, don't use it, doesn't mean just stop researching. That's a tough question. So I'd like to challenge all of you today, my fellow Rotarians. What do you think? Should we or should we not use fetal tissue? I've been struggling with this problem for many, many years. As I learned more and more medical science and technology, I got 2 doctoral degrees. One is laser physics, and I got a second doctoral degree in medicine. So I was ready to tackle the aging eye condition. And I realized that a fetus can heal very well without scar. In fact, we know that the younger we are, the better the healing, right? The older we are, our healing ability is reduced. Who heals best? Newborns. Who heal even better? Unborn, fetus. So the problem is when I faced with these elderly patients with aging eye conditions, I wanted to use my science to help them. So science said, go ahead, use fetal tissue. Don't worry about the fetal life. On the other hand, faith and moral ethical faith principles said, no, a fetus is life. So does faith and science have common ground? I struggled with this question for 20 years. And I really want to help my patients, and I was doing a bunch of research with these eye conditions, diabetes, glaucoma, macular degeneration. On the other hand, I really hate to touch the baby. So I was struggling. And it seems that there's no solution. There's no solution. It seems that science and faith indeed have no common ground. So I struggled with that question for, as I said, 20 years. Fortunately, I didn't give up. I started asking many of my teachers, my church elders, and my pastors. And, the Bible says that perseverance completes you. So I realized that it's a long road. It's not short. You have to persist. You cannot give up. And sometimes the best solution is often the most difficult one. So I didn't give up. I kept on pushing it. And finally, I came up with this amniotic sac. That's the tissue that after the baby is born, it's got discarded, the part of placenta. So I started asking that, is it possible I can use the placenta? And so I asked some mothers after giving birth to a child, I said, can you donate that placenta for me? And they said, well, we don't have use anyway, so yes, go ahead. So I get this bloody pen with placenta from, hospital, brought back to laboratory, and make placenta amniotic contact lens. Then put these useful healing placenta contact lenses onto older patients' eyes. Their eyes can heal like a baby. And I found that worked. One placenta donated by one mother after giving birth to a child can be made into 100 little amniotic contact lenses. Therefore, has the potential to save eyesight of 100 older adults. I truly believe God loves us. He wants us to improve the quality of life, but He wants to improve the quality of life in the right way. Sometimes solution, when faith and science get in conflict, solution may not be obvious, but doesn't mean it's not there. In fact, I would say the true test of faith, strength, is when what we're praying, what we're asking is not obvious, not coming. Can we maintain our confidence and faith in Him? Believe He will deliver at His time, in His way. In this case, He made us wait for 20 years. So this amniotic membrane contact lens now have helped patients from over many, many, many countries, and probably hundreds, thousands of patients have sight restored since the invention of the amniotic contact lenses. We first met Maria through the work of two missionaries. And she lives in Moldova, very poor country. And she's an orphan. And she was brought to the orphanage that because she couldn't see and she couldn't, survive. Lynn Hendrich, the missionary, and her husband went to Moldova for a mission trip. And they met lots of kids over there. And then one day, as Lynn and her children were playing on the field, they noticed a young lady sitting there all by herself. Very quiet, not talking to anyone. So Lynn approached Maria saying, "What's your name?" And the young lady would not look up, just keep on looking down. And just said, "Maria." And Lynn said, "Hello." That young lady would not want to raise the head, just keep on looking down. Finally, Lynn realized that the reason Maria would not want to look up is because she looked horrible with the eye. She was afraid of scaring other people. That's why she was all by herself playing with no other kids. She felt she was outside. She was not part of that. So then the foundation began the Maria Project. Took us a year, finally brought Maria to America. And so Maria came with all the hope, that maybe we will be able to restore her eyesight. So this is when I was explaining to the team before surgery. And I said, surgery is pretty challenging. It's going to have 10 steps. Each step can fail or success. And you can only get to the second step if the first step is perfect. So they say, what's the chance of success? I said, this chance of success, like throwing dice 10 times, has to come up with heads 10 times in a row. Very small. So I prayed with the team and said, we're going to do our best, amnion membrane, all the gadgets. But at the end of the day, God is the one who is going to determine our outcome. So pray about it, and we started surgery. And right in the middle of the surgery, the whole thing almost collapsed because she suffered many years in malnutrition and blindness. But I persisted, didn't give up, and fortunately, by the hang of thread hair that we succeeded. And this is when the night after surgery, she was brought home. She looked in her mirror, and she moved. And she found the image in the mirror move too. Then she realized she was seeing herself for the first time in her life. She goes, I'm so pretty in Romania. I'm so pretty. Then she asked the daughter of Lynn, can you see me? And Katie said, yes, I could see you. So Maria just realized that she had just seen herself for the very first time. So, in conclusion, it's my honor to be with my fellow Rotary members today. And I have two messages for all of us today. Number one, that's complain less about America. Let's appreciate more about America. Let's realize that this is the best country on this planet. Let's don't screw it up. Can we wake ourselves up? Realizing that freedom is something is not guaranteed. It's there today, but it's no guarantee will still be there tomorrow here in America unless we stand up, defend it. And I would say to my fellow immigrants, to paraphrase President Kennedy, can we ask less what each of us can get? Can we ask more what we all can do for this great country, America? My second message is when science and technology keep on developing, it invariably is going to clashes with our moral, ethical, faith principles. But don't give up. It doesn't mean the solution is not there. God loves us. He wants us to improve the quality of life. And quality of life is improved through medical research. But He wants us to do it in the right way. So finally, I want to tell you that in those church talks and commencement talks, sometimes I challenge my students. Dr. Wang, I can be a good engineer if I work hard. I don't need to know Christ. And I said, my life experience from darkness to sight, I learned, yes, science is the foundation. You cannot be lazy. You got to learn the tools. But in my case, it's the Christ that gave me the inspiration. That what I'm going to use those tools, medical tools for, in this case, to help those who need the most help, the blind orphan children. So yes, you can be a good scientist if you work hard, but you can be even better one if you also know Christ. Thank you.
And that concludes this week's 30 Minutes program. We hope you enjoyed today's show. And, of course, we invite you to tune in again next week at this same time as we bring you topics and information of importance to our community. From all of us here at Thunderbolt Broadcasting, until we meet again next week, I'm Charles Choate.